watching SLCtv, Salt Lake City's government access channel. During the month of March, Salt Lake City celebrates Women's History Month. And for this week's episode of Capital City News, we focus on women and leadership. Salt Lake City Council Chair Erin Mendenhall shares her personal story with the mayor's recent signing of the gender pay equity policy. And our History Minute is about the University of Deseret. Let's get started with our legislative update and look back.
As the capital city, Salt Lake City has a responsibility to show others in the state how promoting equity, fairness, and diversity benefits our community. On the first day of Women's History Month, I signed a new gender pay equity policy for employees, dismantling systemic pay discrimination and ensuring women receive equal pay for equal work. We've also led on leave, with Salt Lake City being the first city in the state to offer employees 6 weeks of paid parental leave, regardless of gender, family makeup, or length of employment. But our work is far from over. Now more than ever, we need to press for progress on women having a voice at the table, with greater opportunities to lead the discussions and make the decisions. So don't wait to speak up. Share your story and claim your ground. We know the power of owning our truth, and we see it in groundbreaking movements such as #MeToo and #TimesUp, which are creating fundamental shifts in our culture and around the world. Our shared experiences empower us to reach higher and work harder for greater equity, opportunity, and equality. We are in this together. The time is now. Salt Lake City remains committed to equity and diversity, empowering women through policies and ordinances, and celebrating the extraordinary contributions of women in our communities. This policy ensures all the women who choose a life of public service in Salt Lake City, those women who endeavor to do some good, will know their efforts are rewarded equally to that of their male counterparts. With this policy, Salt Lake City will no longer allow systemic discrimination and historic pay disparity to impact future opportunity.
The time is right for us to press for gender equity, and gender pay equity is what we address today. As the council chair here in Salt Lake City, I challenge every city council in this state to examine their own internal equity issues. Equal pay for equal work. It's that simple.
So it hurts a lot on bad air days. Also, I'm a kid, so all of us, we have to breathe this air so much longer than adults.
Nothing is more important than you and the air you are breathing. We know the poor air quality affects our youth more devastatingly than it does someone my age. We also know it has a devastating impact on your future and our future. Today is your opportunity to make sure that we pass legislation that helps us all breathe easier.
If everyone wants clean air as much as me, our voices will be too loud to ignore, so let's make our voices heard.
Salt Lake City celebrates Women's History Month. For this week's interview, we hear about the city's new gender pay equity policy and what it means personally to Salt Lake City Council Chair Erin Mendenhall.
It is an incredibly exciting time in this nation right now to see all of the momentum that women are bringing to the forefront in the conversation of our country. Gender pay inequity is a critical issue that affects women and their families every single day, but it is only one issue, and it is buoyed up by all of these other conversations of the Me Too movement, Time's Up, of every inequity that we are voicing that has been ignored or silenced before this. Is this really a problem here in Utah? Is this really a problem that we should be addressing? And it's incredible that we can question whether or not 26% of Utah's female workforce is important to us. It's not that 26% are workers, it's that 26% of that female workforce are the primary and sole breadwinners for their families. So this is hundreds of thousands of Utahns alone that are affected every single day by gender pay inequity all over the workforce. So within Salt Lake City, we can look at our own employment structure, the way that we hire, the way we ask questions about what their past pay was, and may inadvertently perpetuate gender pay inequity by asking those simple questions. We really have an administration that is willing to focus bandwidth from the Human Resources Department and from the aspect of looking interior as to what are we paying our employees here in Salt Lake City, and that's happened with Mayor Biskupski. So we did an investigation internally, found that Salt Lake City employees, females, are making about 93 cents to every dollar of their male co-workers. So even in our own progressive house, we have gender pay inequity, and that was something that we were excited to work on immediately, and today that changes. I hope that the actions that Salt Lake City took today and the amazing women who stood behind the mayor as she signed the proclamation and put that policy into effect today will feel empowered that there are women in this city who care deeply for their equity and for their voices to be heard. We can start in our own house with our 3,000 plus employees, and hopefully other city councils and other mayors in this state will be willing to take Utah's fourth worst ranking in the nation for gender pay inequity seriously and say, how are we doing as a city, let alone all of the companies that exist within each municipal boundaries. We are trying to reflect what we hope other cities, other companies will do in looking at interior at what they can do to pay women what they deserve to be paid, which is equal pay for equal work.
And now it's time for a History Minute.
The University of Utah, which was the first land-grant college west of the Mississippi, has a long history that dates back to the 1850s. When the Mormon pioneers first arrived in the Salt Lake Valley, the education of the children was a chief concern. But where would they get the teachers? A board of regents was assembled to create the University of the State of Deseret in order to train a new generation of teachers for the new territory. Without a building, classes first began in 1850 in the front room of the Pack residence for men only. That quarter was taught by Dr. Cyrus Collins, and tuition was $8 for the entire quarter. In 1851, women were admitted to the school, and it reopened at the Council House on the southwest corner of Main and South Temple. A second professor was added, and they moved again later that year to the 13th Ward Schoolhouse. Then a third professor, Orson Pratt, was hired to teach astronomy and algebra. Crop failures and drought caused the school to close in 1852, and it remained closed until 1868. Classes resumed in the Council House, and in 1869, a new president of the college, Dr. John Rocky Park, was hired. He hired a faculty of a dozen professors, and it outgrew the Council House quickly. In 1882, they changed the name to the University of Utah, and in 1884, the school moved to University Hall, which was on the site of what is now West High, but it still wasn't big enough. In 1894, Congress finally deeded 60 acres of Fort Douglas land to the university, and it opened at the new location in 1900, giving the University of Utah its permanent home.
Thanks for watching another episode of Capital City News. Join us next time to stay up to date on all the latest city government news. For SLCtv, I'm Poonam Kumar.